Hey, this is Gus Frios from the band Gruesome, and we're here to chat with United Rock Nations.
Thank
Let's rock.
you very much, Gus, for this introduction, for the interview, and for your disponibility to be with me in order to talk about this new album of Gruesome. It was a long time before the second one.
A lot has happened.
Yeah. So, um, um, first question before talking about the album, I want to know. Um, uh, I want to know to explain to me and to us your big passion for the Bandes and artist Chuck Schuldiner. I think it's very important for you, and I know to have your explanation.
Honestly, and I don't know that people will understand this unless they play music, pretend, maybe, but the impact that the band Death and Shock, and I want to also include all of the members through the years of
Hmm?
Death, have been important, Rick, Terry, Sean, Paul, Steve, et cetera, Gene. This is Death has always been very pivotal and important to me from, you know, or some point in 1987 when I was maybe 10 years old. I heard Scream Gore. It made me, along with bands like Slayer, made me want to pick up and play instruments and be more involved than just listening. And I think I don't forget the spark that got me to where, I mean, the fact that I'm talking to a gentleman from France today via, the internet here, it's because of the band Death and like bands like basically Death and Slayer. So I feel like I owe my whole life to, those bands, the bands that really impacted me, which my top two is Death and Slayer. So my gratitude and reverence for the band and the material and the music is very, very strong.
And this is the band who want to you to make music and to form a band too, or you have this
Absolutely.
idea before?
Well, I think it was probably a mix of the two bands that impacted me the most, I would say, were Death and Slayer.
Okay, that's answer. Slayer is my favorite band too. In
I would say those
Yes,
are my two big.
with this Slayer are pioneer in this kind of music and bring something new in extreme music. I think.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting how at such a young age I reacted so favorably to music's extremity. Like when I heard Creator and Devastation and Destruction, like even before death metal, like I gravitated towards the more extreme. I wanted to hear that aggression. And when I heard Death, it was just like the most of everything, everything that I wanted. I just remember immediately being like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is the best shit ever. And, and then Leprosy came out. And that's when really, when I first heard Scream Buddy Gore with the term death metal, we did, it didn't really exist at the time,
Mhm.
at least not publicly or whatever. But by the time Leprosy came out, that was when, okay, this is not thrash metal. This is death metal. And obviously, I went on to be, my first band was a death metal band. It was not a thrash band. So death metal impacted me even stronger than thrash metal did.
Okay.
And that's the, death is at the top of that.
And is this the reason why in your album and the inspiration to the songwriting, the universe of Gruesome is so close of the universe of death? Because we can notice uh, a little riff, rhythm, the artwork uh, with the same, not the same, but with the same inspiration, the same sound, the same energy. And this is the reason. Yes, this is
Well, I think
important for you is
if,
in your inspiration.
yeah, I mean, a few things happened that led to Gruesome. In 2012, you know, they got some of the former members of Death together and did the first Death to All.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Harvey was involved in that. Following year was the Human tour, and Sean Reinert, the drummer on Human, was
Yeah.
my best friend for many, many years. And he asked me to go out on tour with him, just basically as, you know, help him set up his drums and basically hang out. And Matt Harvey, with his band Exhumed, played some of those shows, and I was playing uh, the song "Baptized in Blood" every night on that tour. And Matt and I just kind of bonded over this, our love of the old school Death. And you know, we had some drinks, and we were like, man, we should get Rick Ross and Terry Butler and do our own DTA, but playing only the old stuff. And that idea ended up morphing into, let's write our own death songs, which sounds really strange. But he sent me some demos that I thought were really cool, you know. And for a fan, me, it was like listening to death songs that never existed. It was like new death,
Okay.
which was amazing. And I even sent those demos to James Murphy uh, to get an opinion from like the source and like, hey, is this stuff good or am I crazy? And when James Murphy gave it the thumbs up, I remember calling Matt and being like, hey, yeah, this is good. Let's do this. And then that's when we had the conversations and we decided, well, if we're going to do this, if we're going to write songs that sound like death, let's get the album covers. Let's do the layout like death. Let's basically recreate all of the nostalgia that went along with all of these death releases. And, you know, it's fun. It's it just makes you feel, I mean, at least for us in the band, you know, it makes you feel nostalgic and good. And I obviously understand the negative criticism of, you know, why I'll just listen to real death, and that's fine. And everybody can have their own opinion, but we do it out of love and because it's just a ton of fun to do and challenging.
Okay. So now let's talk about this third album of Gruesome. It called Silent Echoes. It will release the 6th of June by Relapse Records. And I want to know if you are proud of this album. I know it's a very important album because of your best friend, Shane Reinhardt, uh, passed a few years ago, and I know you want to work with the same energy, the same sound, with the same studio, etc. So, are you proud of this album? Do you manage to do what you want? And could you explain after what was the songwriting in order to have this sound? Is very incredible when I listen to it. I remember
Thank
when I
you.
listened to Human 20 years ago. So it was very amazing when I listened to, and congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate that. You know what's interesting about this album? First off, I can tell you we are all very proud of it because we worked really hard on this album because, you know, the first three Death records, technically speaking, to nail the spirit of it was the challenge. There wasn't, it's obviously easier technically music to play. So this album presented two challenges. Number one, you needed to write songs that felt like they belonged on Human, but
Mm-hmm.
now all of us needed to elevate our skills on our instruments to basically, you know, top level. And for me as the drummer, I still, while I'm very proud of the record, I still have like incredible imposter syndrome. I don't think of myself anywhere near as good as a drummer as Sean. um I even called Sean in November of 2019, because we were supposed to record this album and work on it and finish it 5 years ago. And I remember I called him and I was like, "Hey man, I'm terrified. I have to like step up to you now, and that's impossible." And we laughed about it, and he's like, "Listen, man, you're the guy doing it now. Like, just be yourself. And of course, I'll help you." And I was going to go to his house, and we were going to film the whole thing, and he was basically going to produce the album. Um, Obviously, you know, life had other plans, unfortunately. But your first statements, why it took quite so long to make another record, is obviously the death of Sean. Um, for me, was catastrophic. Like he was my closest friend outside of even like music. Like we were just, you know, we were each other's. When I had a problem with my wife, I would call him. If he had a problem with his husband, he'd call me. Like we were just real friends. And to lose that and then realize at the same time that I lost my musical hero, you know, those two holes just left me empty. And I actually wanted to quit playing drums for the first half of 2020. And then obviously the pandemic hit, and the world forced me to quit basically. Anyway, long story short, all these years later, I'm at the point where I obviously the death of Sean is still something I'll never get over, but I can appreciate how special it was to be so close with somebody I admired so much, and inspired me. Sean was the drummer that made me want to study and become a much better musician on my instrument, singularly almost. And I think a lot of drummers say that about Sean, that he's the one that made them want to become more educated on the instrument. Because that's what Sean brought to the world of metal, was like, not only can you play very aggressively, but you can play very educated. You can add all these fusion and jazz nuances that none of us were exposed to prior to Human. So, you know, knowing I had to make this record, there was times where I felt like I couldn't do it. There was times that I wanted to call drummers that I think are much more technically pro-efficient than I am, and I was like, "Hey, I think you should record this album." Um, and luckily, I'm very fortunate to have a lot of friends in you know that are very well known and established drummers that I can speak to. Like Dirk Verburen and Derek Roddy and Mike Heller and John Longstreth, guys like that. And everybody was like, "Dude, this is your album to make. You have to do this." And and my thing was, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And I just would hear Sean in my mind saying, "Hey, just be yourself." And that's what I did. I just played how I thought I should play. And I felt like that was the greatest way to honor my best friend, to just be myself. Because so much of how I play is because of what he taught me and what I've learned from him all these years. So, if people listen to this new album and they feel the Human vibes, then mission accomplished. And you know,
Ah,
in my mind, I still don't think it's good, but if people enjoy it, then yeah, then mission accomplished.
I could confirm what you say because when I received the album by Frank in order to prepare this interview, and the first sound, the first riff, I did, wow, it's like a human. And human, it's it's a very important album for me in the discography of Death because that was the first album I bought of Death, and after I bought the other one. But my first album I bought too. It was Human, so it's very important for me this album, and it's why I want to do this interview because I like you, I like this band. But when I saw you did it, oh, it was amazing for me. And the artwork it's different, but it's the same core, it's the same energy, it's the same vibes. I think all the package around this album remind me, Human. So I think the job is done.
I mean, and that's, and that's the layout and the artwork and all that. I have to credit Relapse. Those guys really, obviously they send us everything to approve, but man, they nailed it. When I saw it, I legitimately got emotional because I was just like, it just reminded me, like, I remember when I first bought Human, and I had already been into Death for years and years and years. And I remember being a little taken aback by the new logo, and the album cover wasn't gore anymore, and I was like, what
Yeah,
is this? This is 1991 or 90 or whatever it
yeah.
is. Like, there was no internet, I didn't know what I was going to listen to. And I remember pressing play on the cassette, and when I heard the drummer, I was just like, oh my god, I suck. Like, it just made you reevaluate yourself as a player, and you really needed to, like, the bar had been raised so dramatically that, there's, in my opinion, there's death metal before Human and there's death metal after Human.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think Human set the tone moving forward. And if you're going to play death metal, you need to be, you know, educated on your instrument, whether it's bass, drums, or guitar. You can't just chugga, chugga, chugga anymore. You have to look beyond that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, and I know you could record it in this album in the same studio like Human was recording. How do you manage to do that?
No, well, that's not correct. We
Ah,
recorded it at the same studio that we've made all our other records, but Scott Burns did kind of assist and help us utilize all of the same microphones. In particular, I used the snare drum that Sean used to record the
yeah.
Cynic album Focus. We basically wanted to recreate what those guys did. And also, very importantly, I want to say, and I remember Sean being very proud of this, what you hear on Human is basically one take. There's very little punching in on that album. Like, they would just press record and they would play the song. And, a lot of it was on the first try because Sean was just that good. I mean, you can ask Scott Burns about this. Like, Sean did that whole album in like just a couple days or something.
Okay.
And, so even though we recorded into a computer because, Pro Tools and everybody uses Pro Tools, we did not edit. We did not cut and paste. We didn't, we just pretended like it might as well be a tape machine. So it's authentic, it's real. Sean was very proud of that. And I, man, it's obviously emotional, but like, I felt, especially having that snare drum there, I felt like Sean was in the room. And, I wasn't going to do anything that wouldn't make him proud. So going into this album, I spent probably 5 months rehearsing these songs every day. And I even switched out to totally different new bass drum pedals, because of the amount of double bass. And I wanted to not edit it. I wanted it to be real, authentic performances. And because that's the way Sean did it, and that's what Sean would expect. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's an emotional album and it's an emotional topic. And also, what helped me out a lot, and I want to mention this, is Jared Pritchard, the producer, who's worked with us on all our records. He was the front of house engineer for Cynic for several
Yeah.
tours, so he knew Sean personally as well. So it was nice to have somebody there that understood what this meant to me and what it, the things I went through. Because even during the recordings, I would have like emotional episodes. In particular, when we recorded this song called Fragments of Psyche, which was a song that Sean had recorded drums on back in 2017, which is an original Gruesome song. We knew even back in 2017 we were going to make a human style album. And I wanted, when I heard the demo, I called Sean and I was like, hey, I want you to play drums on this. And so he had recorded these drums, and I knew how to re-record the song. So it's obviously a very emotional experience, and to have somebody there in the room with me that understood it was incredibly important.
Sure, Sean will be certainly proud of you and proud of this album if he could listen to it. I'm sure of that. Thank you for your interview, and thank you for this emotion. I know it's not very easy for you. And so this album will be released next month. Do you schedule different tour in America, in Europe, in order to the promotion of the album and to play this song on stage and live for the fan?
Yeah, well, we're about to announce, I'm not sure when this interview will be out, but I would imagine by then we will have announced that we signed with Route One Booking.
Mm-hmm.
Now based in France, actually. Um, so we'll be announcing our signing with that agency. And then, yeah, we will definitely be in Europe in 2026. We will be in
Okay.
America. We'll be in South America. We'll be in Australia, Japan, all that stuff. Anywhere in the world that people want to hear these songs, we will go and play them.
Okay.
Hopefully, these things are in the hands of the people. So if the people demand it, we will come.
I think it will be okay because this album is very good, and this is a long time you didn't release an album with Gruesome, so I think it will be fine for the people next year in order to promote this album and to play these different songs on stage.
Interesting. That also added to the pressure of this album, because it had been so long since we made a record. That alone is pressure.
Mhm.
People are like, well, what are you going to do now? And then on top of it, it was this mountain of a record to tackle. So, I remember when I had finished the last song, I just had a breakdown, because I was like, I can't believe I did it. I can't believe I did this. Like, I was so relieved. And obviously you hear back all the performances before you move on, and I knew at that point I nailed it. I did it. I did everything I wanted to do. And obviously I have full confidence in Matt and Dan, and
And,
um
what was the feedback of your friend or your family, of people who could listen to maybe the album or single? What was the feedback global?
well, I mean, funny enough, because of my imposter syndrome, I sent it to all my drummer buddies first. And my message was, don't fucking lie to me. You tell me if this is good enough. Tell me the truth, because I don't think it's good enough. Still, I still don't think it's good enough. And everybody wrote me back, and they're like, listen, man, this is I hear I hear the connection. I can tell. Um, even recently, which really caught me by surprise. Um, I was out on tour with Left to Die, and a drummer came up to me and he's like, "I can watch you play and tell that Sean was your teacher," which was it's the greatest compliment I can hear.
Mhm.
So I think Sean, I watched him play drums hundreds of times, and I emulate the first 10 years of my playing. All I did was try to emulate him. So for it to come through, and even my friends to be like, we can hear, that was
Yeah,
okay, cool.
cool.
I
So,
did it.
oh, I'm happy.
It's good enough.
I'm happy for
Good
you.
enough.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. Yes, I think. Yeah, what I said a few minutes ago. I think the job is done, and I think people will like so much this album, and the connection, yes, with a human. 34 years ago. Yes, it was a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my last question. Yes, I'm very happy to have this interview with you and to talk about this new album I like so much. Silent Echoes, so released by Relapse Records next month, the 6th of June. Hope to see you very soon on stage. I saw you with Left to Die last summer in France. No, but I never see you with Gruesome, so I hope to to meet.
Yeah, well, that was another kind of factor that led to the delay is when Rick Ross and Terry Butler
Oh, we
call
will be
you
patient. We will be patient. No problem. No,
play
no worries.
original Death, you're like, yes, let's do that. So,
Okay.
on a side note, David Gelke, the guy that wrote the Scott Burns book, he's writing a Chuck Schuldiner book right now, and he told me that Gruesome and Matt and I are in the book
Okay.
as part of the death story now, which you know all these years later I think back to that 10-year-old kid listening with headphones to Scream Bloody Gore, and now I'm somehow part of the story. Is just it's surreal to me, and it's the greatest honor of my career, and quite frankly I owe so much of that to Sean.
I think you realize
And
the. I think you realize the dream, but your dream is a reality now.
yeah, I mean, last year, for instance, in particular, when we played, Brutal Assault and some of the bigger festivals, and I'm playing death songs with Rick Ross and Terry Butler, and there's thousands and thousands of people. I really I never lost sight of the significance of what that meant to me. Like what a dream come true. What a blessed position for me to be in, and I'm eternally grateful for um you know for where I'm at, and honestly, again, like Sean, by way of schooling me on the instrument, by bringing me out with DTA, by asking me to play some of the songs, because that's the kind of friend he was. He was like, man, you should be out here playing some songs. Pick a song, play a song with us. He was that kind of friend. Like, I don't need to play every single song. You come out here and you have some of the glory too. Like, that's the kind of friend he was. And
That's a
I'm
good.
here because of all of these things.
Okay. That's so good. I'm happy for you. I guess it was a good job.
Thank you. Thank you so
So
much. Appreciate it.
thank you for this interview, and have a big success with this this new album of Gruesome. And see you soon. I hope on stage on a festival or in a concert in France. We will see.
We will. Yeah, we'll be there.
Okay, thank you, Guy. See you.
Thank you, man. Sorry for being late
Amazing.
again. I
No,
apologize.
no, okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.